Well, Marcus Spears is chiming in on Georgia Auburn, and this is what he's got to say. Now, do you think he's right? This is what he said to an ESPN show earlier this week. I don't think Bo Nix is going to be breaking 10 tackles and pushing the ball down the field. And what he's referring to is really how Bo Nix escaped LSU half the night during the Tigers' win down in Baton Rouge. And he was making some amazing athletic plays, but he was breaking a lot of tackles. And again, Marcus is saying, I don't anticipate Bo Nix breaking 10 tackles and pushing the ball down the field. Auburn is going to have to run the ball. If Georgia pins their ears back, it is over. And then this line, which was what caught my attention, Kirby Smart is telling his defense, he said team, we are going to destroy Auburn's offensive line. Well, you're not going to be running the ball if you're going to destroy Auburn's offensive line. And here's the thing about this game, all right? Auburn has run the ball pretty effectively this year. Now, it wasn't unbelievable against LSU, and it wasn't unbelievable against Penn State or even Georgia State, but they have had a few games where they've run pretty effectively. They've never been shut down. Like, that's not happened this season for Auburn in the run game. So that alone, to me, gives them a shot. I'm just not sure that they can keep that up for 60 minutes. The other issue to me for Auburn is that if Tank Bigsby is hurt, that's a real problem. I mean, I am a big Tank Bigsby fan, and he's as good a running back when he's healthy as there is in college football. I mean, the guy is special. So that's going to be the real challenge for them. And then, a lot of times people like me who cover Georgia and cover the SEC, we focus on the team that we cover the most. And in that time, you're looking at other teams and you talk about what they can do and so forth, and you sort of can forget about the team that you cover and all they have in their arsenal, their weaponry that Georgia's got. And it's just not a great matchup, frankly, for Auburn. They're not throwing the ball overwhelmingly well. I mean, 2 weeks ago against Georgia State, Georgia had just finished beating Vanderbilt 62-0, a totally dominant win. And I go looking for a place to eat that has televisions. Sit down, start watching the Auburn-Georgia State game. They're losing. Auburn. And not only are they losing, but they're getting beat like they're not the better team. And if Georgia State can control a game against Auburn, that to me brings up two curious things to me. Number one, it says that means Georgia can do it. And number two, that means why isn't LSU doing that? Like, why aren't they controlling that game? I don't know, but I think the big thing that Marcus Spears is touching on here is exactly right. This Georgia team is predicated on the guys in the front of the defense dominating the other offensive line, or at least winning. That's what they're trying to do. Now, last week, yeah, that happened. But last week was a lot about Georgia's offensive line dominating the Arkansas's front three. And they did. And you could tell that Kirby was mandating that. That was something that was going to have to happen for Georgia to play well. Well, this week it's going to be up to that group of 10 or 12 guys who play offensive and defensive line. Georgia's offensive line has started playing better. There have been more opportunities to run the ball. Now, they went up against a three-man front a week ago. The week before that was Vanderbilt. The week before that was Carolina, which actually is probably one of the better, probably the second best defensive front that Georgia's dealt with this season behind Clemson. So it's not been super challenging, but they have been progressing. Auburn's front is not what it used to be. Derek Brown's not there. He's out there killing people for the Panthers right now. So it's not the same thing. But, is Marcus right when he says Kirby? Well, I know he's right because, Kirby was around them at that LSU time when Nick Saban was still at LSU. Kirby is telling his team, we are going to destroy Auburn's offensive line. That's what they're going to try to do. And if they do that, Auburn cannot win this game. They cannot win this game. There's no, potion or magic formula. Your top 5 offensive linemen, your O-line has got to play well, just in college football. But not only that, at Auburn specifically, with what they try to do, The O-line, with Bo Nix's style, they've got to protect that guy. He cannot be effective as a quarterback when he's running for his life. No quarterback can. But he is particularly prone to leaving the pocket. And Georgia's not going to blitz, typically. They are going to try to squeeze the pocket, and he will try to get out of there, and that's when you're going to see Adam Anderson or Nakobe or whoever, a red blur run. Well, in this case, it'd be a white blur running at you, and it's just not what you want to see. Bo Nix struggles on second, third, and long. In those two scenarios, second and long, third and long, that's not his ball game. He is struggling throwing the ball, period, this season. So, could he have a breakout game? Yeah, but he's not going to unless the offensive line at Auburn protects. And we've seen this season that no one has really been protected from this Georgia defensive line. It's a combination of the two things that make me think this is not a great matchup for Auburn. You're going to have both. You need the offensive line that the Gators in Alabama had last season, combined with a quarterback who can make plays from the pocket. That's not the form. That's not what Auburn has right now, and that has been the formula over the last few years to make it work. When you think back to the last 20-something games that Georgia's lost to LSU in 19, South Carolina. It was an anomaly. There's no point in discussing that game. The LSU game in 19, the Florida game in 20, and the Alabama game in 20. Those are the three losses in the last couple of years. In those games, you had a quarterback who could deliver from the pocket. Now, Joe Burrow is more special than those other two guys, I think. But he also had the capability to do what Bo Nix does, but typically Joe Burrow was going forward. But Bo Nix is going side to side. But in all three cases, I'm getting off the point. In all three cases, that Alabama offensive line was as good as I've seen. I mean, they were good, period. And that's the difference. Does Auburn have that kind of line? Does Kentucky do the Gators this year? If you don't have that offensive line, you are not going to score. And inevitably, Georgia will score. I mean, even 2 years ago when they couldn't do anything offensively, they scratched out 3 touchdowns against Auburn and won the game. And there's way more playmakers now. They've got quarterbacks who are more efficient with the ball than what they had at the time. So this is just a better offense for Georgia, but it's the defense. And what Marcus is saying here, Marcus Spears from ESPN, old LSU player, former NFL guy, he's talking about what Kirby's going to be screaming before that game and probably all during the week. He's telling his team, we are going to destroy Auburn's offensive line. I bet he's saying that. I bet he's screaming that. And I bet that's what Georgia's going to try to do. And if that happens, Auburn is in for an extremely long day. We'll see you over on the website, dogpost.com.